Hey there, everyone. I am seeing more coyotes on my trail cams than deer, and that is disturbing. So, today I have rusted some traps and I am dyeing them with some walnuts picked from the yard, and then I will be waxing them with some paraffin wax. What I have learned is that you never want to use beeswax because the beeswax will become brittle and chip off the traps when it is cold out. I'm hoping to eliminate a lot of predators, which will boost my deer population by quite a bit and will, make a better hunt for us. It'll also protect my chickens, and that's also a good thing. So I'll show you what's going on here. I've got an old tin bucket, and I collected probably 2 layers or so of fallen walnuts off the tree. And I have that most of the way full, maybe 2/3 of the way full right now, and I'm trying to get a boil, so I've got a lid that's been on it. But right now, I only have 2 traps that I plan on using, and we'll see how hot that is. I've just got my traps down in there right now, getting all awesome and hopefully a little bit blackened, dyed before I get my wax on them. Once these come to a full boil, I've got my little mixing stick right there. I'll beat them walnuts up for a little bit and then let it boil for a good 20 minutes or so while I do some other chores around here. Alright, we got a slow roll going on here. I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes and check them then. It has been actually about 30 minutes, and this water is super black. I'm not so sure how much color the traps took on, but what I'm going to do is just take this bucket off, leave the traps in for a while, and just let them steep in there. This is what they're looking like so far. Actually looks like they did take some color. It might take a couple years to get them black, but I know the chains did take quite a bit of color. So like I said, I'm gonna just let that steep for a few minutes. I'm gonna take this bucket off of the burner, get a fresh bucket on, and get it boiling so I can wax the traps. So now we got some good clean water coming up to temperature. And I've got some paraffin wax. As mentioned, there's no beeswax in this, so that way the wax won't get brittle and chip when it hardens. I've also got gloves on to keep my scent away. So I'm going to just hold this in here for a while and see if I can melt some off. And I've got the traps rinsed off, so they're ready to go. And the idea here is that all I need is that wax to be floating on the surface. So that way I can lower the trap down into the hot water and pull it through the wax, and the wax will stick to the traps. I don't need a whole bunch, I just need enough. Probably if I was doing a lot of traps, I'd just throw this whole bar in and be happy with that. I think you could probably see it looks like oil coming up to the top of the surface of the water, but that's that wax floating. And we are allowed to trap for coyotes here until March. But I've never done this before, so this is all kind of a new learning experience for me. I have high hopes. I feel like I'll be able to do it correctly. I have some roadkill deer in the freezer, and I will use that as my bait. I will auger or drill a hole in the ground about 2 inches, inch and a half or so maybe, and set my bait down into there, and then dig a flat spot about this big to set the trap down into, right next to that hole. I believe I almost have enough wax taken up for 2 traps. I'll do a little bit more here, just to be sure. But anyway, the idea is that the coyote will kind of present itself to that hole, hoping maybe a mouse or some type of food's going to come out of it, or maybe they can sniff down into it. And when they set their front paws down into that trap set, that's when it grabs that foot. And I'll be checking these daily, and we've had coyotes quite often on trail cam, almost probably 4 times a week, we'll say. It's time for them to go. Alright, that's enough. I'm going to go put the rest back in the box, and then I'll come back and set those traps down into the hot water and see what happens when I pull them out. So before I did this dyeing method, I've had these traps since last year, and I washed all the oil off of them with Dawn dish soap in a bucket, and then I opened them and stuck nails inside the traps, and I've just let them sit outside and rust for a year. I could have accelerated that with vinegar, I know. And then, like I said, today I just made a walnut bath, boiled them for 20-30 minutes, let them steep in that for another probably 20 or 30 minutes, and then I dumped out that walnut bath and I rinsed them well, just to get any excess dirt or gunk or anything off that might be stuck on. So now I've got my water doing some localized boiling. It's about to start rolling. I've got that wax melted. I'm going to dip them down in. And this is just a bucket handle that I bent up. And then I'm going to slowly pull them out. And the idea is that that wax will just encapsulate that steel as I pull it out, pull it through. Since I'm only doing these, I'll shut my boil off, and I do believe I have waxed my traps. I'll find a place to hang these so that way they can dry, and then pretty soon I'll be out making my first set, see if I can catch some coyotes. Well, that worked. I would like to mention that the majority of what I am practicing here I learned from a YouTube channel called Coon Creek Outdoors, and I do appreciate all of his experience and the things that he has learned along the years to teach a fool like me. I've never done this before. I've never trapped, and I hope I'm setting things up as correctly as possible given my means.